You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Kristin. Welcome to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. I'm so excited to be here. It's so fun to move through the week and think about what we want to share, and we always invite callers also. But Kristin, how's your week going? How's your day going?
You know, it's crazy, completely crazy, and it's only 10 a.m. It started early. Nothing went as planned, but here we are. Yet here
we love that. Isn't that? Can we blame it on the stars, on the astrology of the day or not? I don't know. I haven't actually looked. I know we're just kind of coming out of the new moon, which I love. I love using that energy, and so we'll have to talk about that one day, one of our shows, the new moon. But what do you think about this week talking about, since part of our name is Psychic Adventures, talking about psychic adventures?
Ooh, I love it. I obviously love it. And you know what I can remember? I remember being a teenager and my sister and I getting ready for school in the morning. And every once in a while on Q104 out of Kansas City, Missouri, they would have a psychic reader pop on the radio. And that would be, we lived for that day. And it was only once or twice a year. But every time that came on, I was like, that's what I think of when I hear psychic adventures. It always felt like such an adventure that these people were talking about.
That's so funny. Once or twice a year. Can you believe it? So just out of curiosity, is your sister, did she stay interested in this type of stuff, or is it completely out of her world?
You know what? It's interesting because now I want to talk to her about it. That it's just, she and I live in different states. She doesn't have kids and I'm all consumed with my little three crazies. But I think she's got an interest and she would fancy herself. Well, we're talking about her she's, I'll tell her I said this about her, but she would fancy herself to be more spiritual than religious. Which is also a topic we should cover one day.
Absolutely.
So I think she remained interested, but she was funny because she always liked scary things, scary movies. And I was always no can do. It always made me feel icky and I couldn't sleep afterwards. And she was so she had a fascination with the paranormal in a different aspect. But yeah.
You'll have to reach out to her, and because they'll be curious, since it's such a big part of your life, it'll be interesting to see how it has stayed in her life. Okay, so I also want to touch base on, we talked about a lot last week, but one of the things we did talk about, it just briefly, was when not to have a psychic reading. And I ended up writing my blog about that. And so it just went out this morning, but I already got some people reaching out to me about how much they appreciated it because, and the thing that they appreciated was what you brought up actually, when psychics or people that say they're psychics reach out to you on social media, and they're like, I'm hearing from your ancestors or, whatever crap they do. Right. And so she's had 3 people in 1 week reach out to her through social media, pretending to be a psychic and wanting, isn't that crazy? It's such a popular scam thing right now. So just to reiterate that, if anybody reaches out to you, I get people that, not as much now, but I do get people that impersonate me. I've had somebody on Twitter, for probably 12 years that says that they're me on Twitter. Isn't that funny? In Colorado, and they have a picture of, it's definitely not me. It's so funny. But she doesn't reach out to people, but on Instagram, people will reach out and say that they're me and try to start up a little conversation.
Yes. Well,
I just wanted to bring that up, when not to get a reading. And another thing that we touched on briefly was, if you're not in a healthy state of mind, if you're really stressed or whatever, not a good time.
Yeah. And that's tricky because that's when you typically feel that sort of I don't know, desperation and I need help.
Yes.
And once again, it's about going internal first and trying to set yourself straight before you're able to receive anything.
Yeah, or talking to friends or somebody, a therapist, whatever. But I agree, it is like often when we want to get the reading. So, but I mean, I think it's if you have a trusted psychic that that you have a relationship, then you can. But if you don't have a relationship with somebody that you trust, that is not the time to do it because there are so many. It's just not a good. You're very vulnerable when you're stressed and worried, and so it's great to take a step back and release, process, and do some stuff before you reach out. But I just wanted to bring that up since we talked about it briefly and we've gotten some feedback. Okay, so what does a psychic adventure mean to you, Kristen? Since that's our name.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of adventures in every aspect, as are you. And a psychic adventure to me means somehow tapping into the spirit world and just kind of navigating an instant variable. So maybe, for example, I have a good friend and her dad passed away just maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And so we were just sitting around talking one night, and I said, I feel like he's here. I feel like he's here with us. And she's open to that. It didn't come out of, nowhere. Well, maybe it kind of did, but I knew she would receive it well. And so we were just chit-chatting, and I said, he's sending you all sorts of love. Like I just felt the love. And she then turns to where, like an empty space and says directly to her dad, says, what do you think of my friend Kristen? And immediately I got the feeling that he was just kind of patting me on the head, like, no, like you would like a little brother or something.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I just started laughing, and she was like, what'd he say? And I said, well, I just got the feeling he was patting me on the head. And immediately she just started crying, like happy, big time emotional tears. And she was like, oh my gosh, it's so funny because my mom would always be kind of like clingy to him, and he would say, oh, I love you. And then it became a thing in their family where they would just pat each other on the head, and it was like an unspoken I love you. And I felt like that was a really solid psychic adventure.
That is, I love that. And I think that's important. I mean, this is a perfect example of like using our abilities, our psychic abilities, whatever we want to call them. We use them in our everyday life. And you're sitting there having a good time with your friend, but you're able to share love from her father to her, which is just awesome. I love that.
And she told me this, just on Sunday that she's able now, when she just kind of breathes into it and thinks of him, and she said, I just feel it and I get so happy. It's this elated euphoria. And she was, and I can feel him with me now.
That's awesome.
I love it. And I feel like, once again, it's something we can all do if we just embrace it and put some effort into it.
Yes. And it's not, I mean, that's the other thing is, okay, well, if you read my blog, it's like somebody was like, oh my God, she went to a psychic recently. She was having a bad day, having a bad week. And the street psychic was like, well, your heart chakra is screwed up. For $500, I'll remove a curse. And I was like, you don't have to, don't pay anybody any money to do that, but you can heal yourself. And it's exactly like what you're saying with your friend. Like now she can connect with her dad. Now she feels him. Like he's always been there, but now she knows how to feel him. And that's, that was a gift that you gave her, and you didn't charge her $500.
No, I didn't. She just gave me a sparkling water.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, like, when we say psychic adventures, for me, being psychic or that psychic, it means different things for me. I mean, mediumship is different, right? Because mediumship is you do talk to those on the other side, but we can still put it into the psychic adventures because it's really just, it's like I'll put miracles in there, right? Like I think a miracle is a psychic adventure. It's anything where we connect with that, with those higher vibrations, where we connect with the possibilities, and it can be in all forms, right? It's like, I think it's where we go for Akashic records, where we, right? So for me, it's just like this door opens up, and we have the ability to receive. And I also okay, we'll do another show on protection, because right now I'm talking about vibration, like high vibrational stuff, right? Because that's the stuff I work with. I'm not going to go down the other road. So for me, the psychic adventures is that high vibration connecting with love, whether it's love of a pet, whether it's love of, higher beings, whether it's love of Mother Earth. It doesn't matter. It's how we receive that. So how does that, do you agree with that, Kristin?
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. And I think it's really just, and it's different for everyone too. Like we all have, and then it becomes a pragmatic, like, well, what do you define psychic as? Because it had such a stereotype, growing up again, like in getting ready for school, listening to that, I was like, they're going to talk to the undead. This is, you have a certain idea based on your minimal exposure. And now we just know so much more. And it's completely becoming mainstream to be connected and embrace your intuition.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, like, I don't even know that we know so much more, because like, I don't know how this works, but it's just, we're open to it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like definitely not an intelligence thing. I'll tell you that.
That was very
It's something, but it's not like rating my intelligence. Okay, but I'll share with you like a miracle, because for me, miracles fall into the psychic category. So when this is a million years ago, well, like 26 years ago, I was pregnant with my first child out of 3. And I think when we were like, 19, I don't even know. I can't remember how far along. Anyhow, between I think past third trimester. And they did, I came in for like a wellness, like the big ultrasound where they look at everything, and they know, and actually, I don't even know why they were doing that, because I wasn't high risk, but anyhow, so they were doing it, and they were like, oh, she's got a 2-vessel cord, which is an anomaly. It should be 3-vessel, and then an echogenic bowel. So those 2 things together, they were like, we have to do an amnio. And I was like, oh my God. So they do an amnio because we have to see if she's even compatible with life. Because they were thinking she was like, I think it's Edwards syndrome. It was a long time ago, can't remember. But anyhow, so I was like so freaked out. And so they did the amnio, and I went home, and I remember laying in bed, and I was just crying. I was like so freaked out. And I heard, like, I felt and I heard, don't worry, she will be okay. And I just felt complete calm, like all my stress and everything. I just felt like I was like wrapped up in this calm, just surrounded by this energy of calm. And I knew she would be okay. And you've probably heard me say this story before, but it was one of those things, like, it was so like I went from panicked to calm. And it's not, I didn't hear anything from the doctors yet, because I just had the amnio, and I was worried about a miscarriage, whatever. And I just felt so much calm. But the weird thing is, I didn't tell anybody, right? And I had heard so clearly, don't worry, she'll be okay. It's not like I called up anybody and said, hey, guess what I heard? Or I just I felt it, and it, like, something in me shifted, and I moved, and I lost that stress, and I moved on with my life. And she was okay, by the way. So you're muted, Kristin, as much as I want to hear you. I can't. I'm sure everybody wants to hear you, but we can see you, fortunately. Okay, so that was one example. Say something now. Let's see if we can hear you. I know we still can. But so I'll share another. So this is on the other realm. When we went to for a retreat, and on the way to no, maybe it was after. I can't remember. Anyhow, we went to Jerome in Arizona, and we talked about this a little bit last week, where it's like a ghost town. And Kristin, check your settings on the bottom. That's from our our fearless leader. Look at your audio settings. Anyhow, and as we said, this is unedited, so you get the best. Everybody listening gets the best of both worlds. Anyhow, we went to Jerome, and ghost hunting is not my. Anyhow, ghost hunting is not my thing, but it was kind of fun to go around and Jerome is like the coolest little ghost town, and it was kind of fun to go there, and everything is. So maybe anyhow, I was looking at the notes for Kristen. So I think she's going to log back with a different device. Anyhow, so we're in Jerome, and it's very cool. Like, everything is old and untouched. It has this amazing history. And to pick up on the energy, like the way I work, I don't want to know anything. Like, before I do my readings, I don't want to know anything about people. And it was kind of the same thing with Jerome. So going there was kind of cool. Didn't know anything about it. And then the messages that we picked up was fun, that I was picking up. And then the other thing that was kind of fun is we went on a ghost tour, and they use those, what they call squawk boxes, which, I always say I'm lazy, so I don't want to have to rely on some equipment or something to get messages. But that was kind of interesting to see, like, the squawk boxes and how they light up if there's energy around. And, do I believe that they work? I don't know. I mean, who knows? I believe much more I have much more faith in just the way I work, in the messages that I get. But ghost towns, they're definitely fun. It's because we went in there with a good attitude, so we were anticipating it wasn't like a scary thing. And you do it at night, and I think it was a full moon, so it was super fun. Hopefully Kristen will get back. But I will just share with you guys this story also, because it is it's something that changed there's been several stories that have changed my life, but I will share with you this story, and it's how I came to get my abilities. Oh, good. Here she is.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh. Praise Jesus.
That was exciting.
It was exciting. Okay. I was just talking about Jerome.
Oh my God. Okay. When you first said the term psychic adventures, that always comes to mind, because that really did feel truly like an adventure.
Okay. So share, because I kind of probably gave the watered down version. Share what you thought of Jerome and the squawk boxes.
Okay. Well, now the squawk boxes, those were probably, I think, those were for the general public that had like a small interest in the supernatural. Yeah. What I loved was, if you're going to go through a ghost town, grab yourself a psychic medium and take them with you.
Yeah, agreed.
And but the history that was there was so cool. The tunnels that went through, and I think that I am probably semi-obsessed with Jerome. Like, I cannot wait to go back.
I want to go back, but okay, would you stay in that one haunted hotel? The one
with you, yes, but not by myself.
Yeah. I would do that. I would get like a group of people, and we could stay, like, rent 2 rooms and just stay up at night. I think that would be kind of fun.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Like, pick the right people though. Like, you've got to have the right vibe.
Yes.
But the whole thing is, like, the weird thing about it, if I recall, is like whoever owned the town I think before the town like collapsed or whatever happened, didn't they keep like the people that had like mental illness or physically, not physically well? Didn't they keep them in the tunnels or do something?
Yes. Okay. So the town, it's crazy. It's like this mountain, this small mountain, large hill, was a city in and of itself. So it had it even had a red light district in one shady area. Then the people who had some sort of physical deformities or anything that the town's leaders didn't feel should be appropriately seen on the day-to-day, they had to not go by street. They had to go with these tunnels and just like get from point A to point B hidden. Very much like, it gave me like Phantom of the Opera vibes. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like how there were tunnels to transport in. So now the tunnels are kind of closed off, and maybe you can peek in. And of course, there's always a story before they show you a tunnel. And then there was a fire in the hospital, which has been turned into the hotel that you can stay in. So everywhere you go which is smart of them because they wrap in the tourist aspect here. Everywhere you go now, there's also a story well publicized that tells you how this particular location fit into the haunting and the history of Jerome. It's
cool. But also like, because we arrived like early in the evening and like driving up the little windy road was cool. Oh. But the town itself is like super friendly and cute. Like if you just went there, the town itself is like very inviting and very like that. We went to a cool art store. Mm-hmm. But I did like kind of going around and picking things up. That was kind of fun. And you never know who's going to reach out to you, like who on the other side is going to reach out to you. But the Squawk Box, and I can't remember who it was, which we probably can't say her name, who gave us the tour. But that was definitely interesting. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah. And then we went through a couple of graveyards and like read certain graves and it was interesting. Like I think anyone who's even remotely a history buff would appreciate that, the whole experience. Yeah. Yeah.
And I would definitely go back and stay the night with a good, with the group of people that I want to, that I have good vibes, right? That are fun when you're going to laugh. Because that's the energy you want. You don't want to go there with people that are feeling morose and not in a good frame of mind. You don't want to go to a haunted house then. Oh, but we definitely have to talk about protection because this is such a important thing. Okay, so do you want to share another story? And then I was going to share. And remember, you guys can always call in. We're going to pull cards also for the week ahead. But Kristin, what's like your favorite psychic adventure? Something that like.
So I have a personal story, but then I also, just talking about Jerome and this, did you ever see, and I want to say it was on MTV. I'm dating myself here. It was a show and it was a competition between two groups and think teenagers. And it was some sort of like fear-based show where, for instance, they would go to like an abandoned asylum and they would have team A and team B. And you would listen to your mission, and then a group member would have to be mic'd up, and there's a camera on them, and they would go at like midnight into the abandoned asylum, and they would have to sit in this cell block in the dark and listen to a scary story about it. And there were cameras already set up, and it was to win. Like these teenagers, early 20-somethings, were going to win like, I don't know, $20,000 for the team if they could complete every mission through the night. But it was basically like scary. They just had to go, and what kicked it up a notch was all the scary stories that came with it. Anyway, that's what I was thinking of. That's how we're not going to do Jerome next time we go.
Yeah, we're not doing Jerome like that. We're doing Jerome like where it's fun, where it's funny, because we want to connect with the fun and the funny. We don't want to connect with other stuff.
And it's all about how you go into it. So these kids were going in very much fear-based. I mean, the name of the show had the word fear in it. So they're not doing protection. They're not going in with the attitude and purpose of like light and connecting with good and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's the perfect example of like how we move through life, right? Like, do we move through life seeking, we're seeking what makes us feel good, not in like a truly hedonistic way, but seeking, people that we feel good around, seeking work that we feel good doing and offering, right? Or do we stay in the, in the drudgery and expect crap?
Exactly. Yes.
So it's really no different. It's like, how do you choose to spend the night in Jerome in the haunted house? How do you choose to spend the day in your house?
Mm-hmm. It's very purposeful. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's really no difference.
So I remember when you and I, because we connected about 8-ish years ago. And then maybe like 5-ish years ago, we were talking and you were doing an informal reading on me. And it was over the phone. We were just chatting over the phone. And you said to me, kind of out of the blue, as readings go, death experience. Your great grandma is coming through, that she was there and you did. And immediately I got so emotional because I, in fact, did. Like there was a bad canoe accident and I went under for an inappropriately long amount of time. And And I knew that, like, you can't have that kind of experience and not know it. But, and this is going to sound so odd, but I just kind of forgot about it. Like, it happened when I was 10, and I'm quite a bit older than that now. And, you know, life happened. I'm sure I do remember it happening, and we were camping, and the days after I would think about it and I would try to talk about it a lot, but gone, you know, my parents were not having it. They didn't, I don't think they wanted to think about it. So
Right.
it was very much like, you're fine, you know, you'll be fine, you're fine, and distract me to something else. So although I know very much it did happen and it was impactful, and I do remember connecting with my great grandma when I was
crazy.
Yeah.
So you cut out briefly
about it.
You cut out when you, so what Kristin said was a near-death experience. When I asked her if she had a near-death experience, because you cut out briefly. But isn't that crazy that how cool is that? Like being a 10-year-old, not cool going under the water and getting stuck. But having a loved one come through and help you.
Yes, it was, because she and I were very close, and she had just passed away. And but, you know, again, touching on the subject of how do you know when you should get a psychic reading and if the psychic is right for you, very much when you were talking to me that day, I was like, wow, how could Polly have known? Like, what are the odds? And you knew that when I was under the water, my great grandma came to me. You even knew it was water related. And that's fantastic.
Well, and that's the other thing is like, how does this stuff happen? Like, I don't know how it happens. And I don't think we need to know how it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Like, I don't waste my time wondering how it happens. I am lazy, but I don't waste my time. Like, I just am like, okay, it happens. And it's not like I move through the day constantly like, oh my God, wanting to no, I do move through the day, hopefully receiving love and light, but it's not like I move through the day wondering about who's checking me out at Whole Foods. Don't care about that, right?
Do you feel like you can turn it on and off?
I feel like it's where we put our attention, right?
Okay.
So my attention isn't there all the time. And I'll also say when I'm stressed, then it's, you know, when I'm stressed, I have more of a block up. I can always access it, but if I'm stressed, you know, I move through life kind of jerky and not whatever. It's not that free flow life. And so when I'm stressed, I'm not going to receive the messages as easily as I live my day-to-day life. And I just, you know, just in general, like I have so much, you know, I talked about this last time, there's so much faith. And I guess it's the faith that we use all the time. We don't necessarily always tune in psychically, if, you know, specifically psychically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was just going to share a brief little synopsis of like how everything, my world blew open. Like even when I was little, I had apparently some abilities, because I told my family when I was like really little, I would make predictions. But then I kind of went away from it. And I always like have felt connected like to Earth, like I'm still very connected to Earth. And that's always been like I don't know how to describe it, but like, you know, I'm very happy just sitting out and just feeling that. I've been that way forever, and spending time by myself and just being outside and feeling. But when I was in my 40s, early 40s, I used to run marathons, and my health, I started not feeling very good, having like some cardiac stuff and kind of wasn't thriving, so to speak. And I was so tired. So long story short, it took a while, like a year, to figure out what was going on. And I did have some scary times, like, sorry, I have a cold. But I had like, you know, they couldn't figure out what it was. And like one diagnosis, and this is when my kids were all little, was like heart failure. And so anyhow, I went to I left Alaska and went to Cleveland Clinic, and they were able to diagnose it. But it was during that time that I again connected to that feeling of peace. I just through the health stuff, something in me started changing, and I don't know how to describe it besides something in me started changing. And then I started connecting with different energy. And it was almost like it happened overnight. And I changed so much, and I don't even know how to describe it. But when I came back, so I went to Cleveland Clinic twice. And then when I came back, and they were, they could have done different things or put me on different medication or whatever. And I was just like, I went basically like, went to bed. I was just like, okay, I had to rest so much during the day. And so, but I was like in this kind of semi-meditation time. It was just so weird. So I was like meditating for hours every day. But the weirdest thing is like the first thing that I could do, like my world changed so much, what I could connect to and how I viewed the world changed so much. And the first thing that really happened was, besides connecting to peace, was being able to channel messages, like having guides or whatever you want to call them. That started happening, but then like everything opened up. But then I was like you, Kristen, where I was like, I want to find a group. Like, this is the craziest crap. Who am I going to talk to about this? Right? And there was like, people didn't use Zoom as much then. Mm-mm. So I started my own little group in Alaska, where we met once a week. But it's just like funny. And I'll also say this, like once I was like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. I have this gift, if you want to call it a gift, whatever. And I set up a website, and just like overnight, and I still have like my first week or first month, I did client readings for free, just for recommendation or referral recommendation for my website. And I still have them. So that was like 15 years ago, and I still have them. Isn't that funny? And everything is just like, that's why I believe it was never like, I never had to it was never a challenge or anything, like me making this my business, me doing this, like just everything unfolded so perfectly. Mm-hmm. And but anyhow, my life changed overnight with having these abilities.
I love that. I love how, would you say like the deepest key to the change was the meditation?
I think it just was part of it. Like, I think that's part of, like, as you start having, it was like I was recalibrating. And I think to recalibrate, you have to have some stillness.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was because of that. I think it all fit together. I think that there's so many pieces to it. And I think, for me personally, being connected, being aware of the earth or the universe energy, that's very, that's part of the way I work. That's part of my healing. But okay, here's another thing I'll tell you. During that same time, oh my God, my life is so wackadoo because everything happened at once. And it was going from being the soccer mom. So I wasn't a soccer mom, but different sport. But that was my life to oh my God, now I see ghosts. But woke up in the middle of the night, looked over at my husband sleeping, and they're as like this, because now I see them, like if it's somebody that's crossed over, I see them usually with my eyes closed is how I see them. My eyes were open, looked over to my husband sleeping, and there was a figure there, that was so dense. That's not the right word, but I felt like I could have touched it.
Okay, now was it standing or was it in bed with you guys?
No, it was standing. It was it was standing. It was a female. I'm not sure if it was his mom. Probably was his mom, standing over him, and so I could have, it just looked like it had so much form. I guess that's the way to do it. It had more form than they normally do, right? And I remember watching, and I went to sleep.
So you weren't freaked out?
Mm-mm.
Were you at a place where you were like, hi, what brings you here?
No, I think it was just okay, just recognizing. It's I recognize the bird out there. I appreciate the bird. and then I go to sleep.
Wow. That's fascinating to me, because I
Yeah.
want to do like a full one-on-one interview with the spirit and be like, excuse me, are you purposefully letting Polly see you and hiding from others, or are you guys just vibing
But
the same way?
I don't know. I mean, I think the other thing is like I had so much peace just with my, with my diagnosis and my health, and now I'm fine. But I think that was it. It's like I had somehow, like, I connected. I knew what that energy was.
Yeah.
And so I could connect to it in other ways, if that makes sense. And that's the other thing. Like when people, like for everybody listening, if you guys, want to develop your psychic skills or whatever, it's not like say you use them and then you're like, okay, this isn't for me anymore or whatever. You don't forget them or you don't lose them.
Mm-hmm.
They're still accessible.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it's like playing basketball. You can still dribble the ball, but if you really worked on it and you fine-tune your skills, you could get really good and effective with it.
Yes. True. Okay, so should we pull cards for the listener, like a card per?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
But if anybody has like something that they want us to discuss, send us a little email, because I think it's like I love getting people's stories or questions and kind of just sharing that type of stuff.
One more thing, when you do readings, I love how you do the reading, and I think this is why you're so good at it too, because you come from such a non-judgmental place. Yeah. Like there's no preconceived notions. When something comes through for you, you never judge it as good, bad, ugly, right, wrong. It's just what it is. And then you don't retain it. Like you're just there for the moment to give the message, and then it's gone. So it's such a safe zone. Yeah. I feel like.
But I think that's how it has to be. But I mean, this is a great example. Like yesterday when I was doing a reading, and so, I mean, you know how this is. You get messages and you're like, okay, this is so hokey. And I literally said, this is so hokey. But this is so hokey. But have you been do you go to barn dances? I mean, where's that going to come from? And she's like, well, I used to go to barn dances. And I'm like, you need to go back to the barn dances, because she's looking for a partner. I'm like, you need to go back to the barn dances. Now, where the hell does barn dances come from? I mean, it's so funny how this stuff works.
Oh yeah, like that. You're not pulling that out of anywhere. Like that was from somewhere special.
Yeah, and it was hokey, but isn't that funny?
I love it.
And that's the thing, is like you have to be able to be I don't know, is brave the right word? But you just have to share.
Yeah, and you do, and you have to share. Like when you're getting a reading, I think the person who's kind of doing it for you has to be able to tell you everything that they're feeling and seeing and receiving, so that you can translate it, because they're receiving it. It's like that game Operation, where you whisper to someone and it comes through. So you have to, like, you're translating a second language here, and you have to almost give as much information. Like for my friend, the whole patting on the head, I could have been like, well, he's fixing my hair, or he's wiping my
True enough.
Or, just
oh my God, that's so true. It's how we pick, how it comes through to us. Okay, here's another very funny thing about the same person yesterday, because this is so funny to me. Okay, so I'm a vegan, I don't do any animal products, but this is what's so funny. So I'm like, her dad was coming through. I'm like, did you guys used to cook together? Why is he showing me food? He was showing me meat. And I'm like, okay, but get this. He's a super funny guy, and he used to love to hunt. And so he was showing me meat because he thought that was so funny, because I'm a vegan. Isn't that funny?
Oh my God. It is kind of.
I mean, the guy was funny. Isn't that funny? Like, it's so funny.
So it was, and this is another thing that I love. Like that was a special, like that wasn't for the person you were reading. That was to connect with you.
Yeah, but it was also like she would appreciate, because he's so funny. He's so funny. Like he's
like
just
jokes on you and they're laughing. They're laughing at you.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, it was funny. I do love, I mean, things like that I love.
Yes.
Okay. Let me pull, I'm going to pull from 2 decks just because I like, oh, this is fun.
Ooh, what'd you get?
I'll have to show, I got to pull my second one, but I like it.
Okay.
It's very sweet.
Aw.
Oh, hold on now. I got to switch this around, but we'll do it. Okay. So my first one is the Knight of Hearts. Whoops. Romance. And so this is like, this week is great for opening up your heart, and not just like romance, like love, like romantic love, but obviously, hey, if you're looking, this is a great week for it. When doesn't Venus go retrograde in maybe a week or something? Anyhow, this week is all about romance. So do things that make you feel beautiful. Oh my God. And this is so sweet. The guy's got it holding his heart in his hands. I really love that. Yeah. So there's people like, you know, I think be aware of the magic in the air, be aware of your vulnerability, of other people's vulnerability, and say yes to kindness, to sweet gestures, to romance. I love that. It's like, just notice where love touches you this week. I love that. And then my second card was the Fool, which goes with romance, right? Because you do have to kind of let go and be vulnerable and just be like, yeah, I'm just experiencing. Mm-hmm. So take a chance on love this week. Even if it's just, you know, loving yourself, take a chance on it. But I wanted to say, this is a great card.
Yeah.
Great card for those seeking romance. Okay, what did you get, Kristen?
Okay, so I got the 9 of Angels, Guardian.
Oh, interesting.
So again, like in a heart, you can kind of see that, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's more about self-love right now. Like what I'm thinking is any signs of anxiety and stress, don't let that eat away at you. Instead, just take a beat, take a pause, and start to hone in on what you love about yourself, even to the point that you make a list, either a mental list or even write it down of all the things you love about yourself, about what's going right in your life.
Yeah.
And anytime the stress and anxiety comes to you, just think, nope, I'm going to guard all my blessings and I'm going to count them and just focus on them. Like keep the mindset very much on what's going right and well. And I think that's one of those things where like you hit what you aim for. So just the idea of all the blessings in our head, and that will keep the anxiety and stress at bay.
And it's the same thing of, you know, I encourage everybody to have some type of practice of prayer, meditation, connecting with the universe, whatever works for you. But it's the same thing of making that like daily, connecting with something that you're grateful for, connecting with something, you know, even if you say, I connect with peace or whatever it is, like do something every day, like kind of train yourself so that you have the ability, you know what it feels like. And when you feel great, like consciously remember, like, I feel so good right now. I want to remember this.
Yes.
Because we do want to remember it. We want to experience, that's what we want in our life.
Completely. And meditation doesn't have to be hard. I think we oftentimes it's stereotyped as like you're completely empty in thought. You're sitting in an uncomfortable cross-legged position with your index and thumbs together, humming. It does not need to be like that. It can be just a matter of prayer, like just thinking about being mindful of listing what you're thankful for, praying, trying to connect with maybe someone who's crossed over, like just being really mindful and not it's almost what you're not focusing on. You're not focusing on the stresses. You're not focusing on your to-do list. And I, as a Pilates instructor, I believe that there is so much meditation within Pilates, within yoga, within, like you're a big hiker. So that's a form of meditation for you, would you say?
Yeah. Well, there's meditation and connection to the other side or connection to God's source. We can do that in every moment, right? And there's much of our day that we do it without even being aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay, so we just have a few minutes left before we have to go. But I just wanted to share, so you can find, if you want to find out more about me, you can, or send us questions. So my website is pollywirum.com. So myname.com, super easy. You can read my blogs on Your Tango, or you can, I mean, they're also on my website. And then also check out Eden Magazine. Eden Magazine is very cool. It's based out of LA. They do amazing work. Anyhow, I love Eden Magazine. It's kind of like everything that I fully believe in about how I want to live my life. Mm-hmm. That's Eden Magazine.
Yes, Polly is a contributing writer for that, and it's always an interesting read. Like I always get something out of it.
Yeah, thank you. It's just, I love the magazine's beautiful. And then talk about our Instagram and if they want to reach out to you.
Yes. So follow us on Instagram, Truth Wellness Psychic. That's going to be our Instagram handle. Follow us there. And then remember that we will never reach out to you and offer you a reading.
True enough.
Side note, you'll have to come to us. You can find more about my Pilates studio at garagepilates.net. And then, of course, you can always reach out to me to discuss any kind of energy healing or some movement and mindfulness at email address Kristin, Kristin, at garagepilates.net.
I love that. And we do have to talk about that sometime, is like the importance of like moving your body to shift energy, like how it's such a beautiful, laughter is always a great way. But moving our body, like specifically moving our body, getting massages, that type of stuff. And you're so good at like helping people like give cues to like if there's stuff stuck in the hips or wherever, moving that energy. And that is a wonderful way of self-care and self-love. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. The mind and body are so connected.
Yes.
One can't be strong without the other.
No. They're perfect. Okay, and I also want to mention, because I use 2 decks. If there's anybody that likes cards, I love the Angel Tarot by Jane Wallace, and then the other one is the one that I use the same one as you, Kristin. What is the one that you used?
The Tarot of Light by Denise Jarvie.
Perfect. Okay. So we will see everybody next week, and sorry about the glitches in our audio and etc. But as we said, it's unedited,
and it kind of goes along with the theme of my day thus far.
Yeah, it's life. It's just life,
and it goes on.
Hiccups happen. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Yes, have a good week.
Okay.
You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.